And once again, the clock has taken. It's time for her say. We sit down, or perhaps we speak to Victoria Mulu, who tells us about the incredible event that played out in the country. That is the Gamberoso, Italy. That is the roadshow that played out in the country in relation to wines. High-end conversation about just how, as a people, we can embrace this talk and make sure that any time that we enjoy the best of wine, it should be the best of it. What it is that is imported into the country is indeed worth the money that we're going to cough this for. So that incredible conversation shortly with Victoria, as well as she walks us through the journey of us embracing wine in the country as a people and beyond. So make sure that you keep it right here and right away to it. And tonight on Her Say, just what is a beautiful woman without a nice glass of wine? That's what we're going to talk about. We've been talking about women and women and women. But tonight, we want to focus on these ones that are in the world of wine. And it's basically a cult. I was telling my guest today, because you feel like everybody and anybody wants to get themselves into this world of wine. Just how good, just how tempting is the whole affair of wine in this country and beyond? That's what we'll be discussing on Her Say. Delighted to have Victoria Mulu, who's the guest tonight and an expert in the world of wine. So she'll be telling us all this and where we are at as a country. This is the backdrop of a very important event that was hosted this last Tuesday actually.
Yes.
And of course it's in relation to just getting the world of Italian wine into the East African market. It is there, but just how much is it deeply engraved? Vicky, good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for finding time to come and speak to us about wine.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I enjoy talking about wine.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So before we even get into what you enjoy talking about the most, let's talk about the event. It's called Gamberoso. How am I supposed to pronounce it?
You pronounced it perfectly. So, Gamberoso, Top Italian Wine Roadshow.
Okay.
And this is the first time that they were hosting it in Kenya. They have hosted it in South Africa before, but now they are confident that they're in this market because we have the potential, we have the knowledge, or the knowledge is growing. But of course, we know Africa is the focus for a lot of industry, a lot of business for various reasons. But yes, the Top Italian Wine Roadshow was held on Tuesday. And it started at noon, ended at 7, and it brought together different stakeholders. So we had 35 Italian wine producers coming all the way from Italy to showcase their best wines. And with that, we had a gathering of the people that matter, the importers in this country, top decision makers of hotels and restaurants. We had wine lovers as well. We had industry people. So we had a 360 of all the people who actually help move wine in this country.
You know, I spoke to one of the person who attended this, and on basis of a person who's a wine vendor. Because before it gets to the consumer, it has to go through the hands of this very many people who are actually selling wine in the country. Their biggest concern was on the question of inflation and, you know, the market exchange rates and the introduction now of this new, well, not so new product, but perhaps top tier kind of new product from Italy.
Yes.
Just how are we going to gain this balance moving forward?
You know, this has always been the biggest elephant in the room, a big question on all wine lovers and anyone who's trading in imported goods, not just wine. And yes, the government has a right and a duty to sort of balance the economy, add tax, reduce tax when they can. But the impact of the current tax regime has impacted the price of wines dramatically. And with effect, it has also I think it has really, really affected consumption.
Right.
So you get people comparing the cost of wine to the cost of spirits, which is not possible. A lot of spirits are produced locally. But with that said, we are still able to encourage that we import the right quality at the right price point so that the consumer can also enjoy great quality wines at, yes, it will be a premium, but a fair price.
So what will you make of the culture moving forward, or perhaps where we are at today? Because like you rightfully say, sometimes with the game of the prices, it can be a delicate balance. But at the same time, you know, the consumer really wants to get good quality. Would you say that, you know, with this knowledge that is growing, we have gone into a space where we understand, you know, what is good wine? We can discern that this is good, this is not good. And are we getting that in the country?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's why, you know, huge international companies like Gamba Rosso have the confidence to come into this market. Before they come to any market, they do a lot of research over a period of time. In this case, perhaps I think 2 to 3 years. So they have seen the trajectory, they have seen the growth and the potential. And I'm really proud of my Kenyan people because we are a very educated population. We're educated, we're discerning, we're curious, and we're not shy to ask questions. And then, thank God, Google is your friend as well. So we know how to tap into the different resources available to us to get more information than we need. But in the last 10, 11 years, we have done a lot of work trying to increase the level of wine knowledge, service industry as well, you know, because the service of wine also is very important. And yes, the culture has grown immensely. People are demanding for wine, and not just the generic wines that we used to, you know, demand. Like we would go into a restaurant and say, "Do you have sweet wine, sweet or dry?" Now we are asking for wine by the grape varietal, by the provenance, meaning where it's coming from. You know, there's a lot of us who go and say, "Do you have a Chianti from Tuscany?"
I know.
Isn't that beautiful?
Listen to this. It is lovely. You just want to sit down and listen to them, ask for it, and look at the bottle, try to look at the years, try to look at where it comes from and all this.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, I'd love to just have a chit-chat in relation to rules of origin, because we are known as Africa, or as East Africa, let's just say, to be keen on consuming wine that comes from South Africa, more from France and all that. Just what much of a difference will the coming in of Italian, good quality Italian wines, you know, do to the market, mean to the market, mean to the consumer, mean to the people who are actually selling wine?
It will mean everything. And it means a huge lot, because I do applaud the South Africans for the amount of work they have done to educate and to promote and to give experiences on their wine here in Kenya. That's 7 years running. And for Italians to start doing it for the first time through Gamba Rosso, with Gamba Rosso, it does mean that people will be a lot more interested in trialing. People can relate more. I mean, we're a religious country, Christian predominantly. So, you know, with Christians, even if you're not Catholic, you're having wine with your sacrament once a month.
I mean,
Catholics every day if you go to mass. But, you know, some of those barriers are already broken down. Italian food is already well appreciated and understood in Kenya. So wine will ride on a lot of other things. And I think the amount of the wonderful experience that they had on Tuesday, the support from the media, like you do a lot of salient education for us, and the concerted effort by, you know, the importers, ourselves as sommeliers, and everyone who works towards encouraging people to drink wine, will make sure that Italian wine is featuring prominently and positively, but also for our consumers, that they will have the confidence to say, I am drinking this because I know it, I understand it, and I like it.
Nice. So you say sommeliers, connoisseurs, and all these words and all that. Just then, in your understanding, how important has the tradition contributed, you know, to just how the industry of wine plays out in the country, and now coming in of innovation and intertwining this to get better understanding and, you know, consumption of what is quality, and then how does one get to understand that this is quality, this is not?
Okay, so traditionally, we are not really a wine drinking culture. So this is a bit more an aspirational product. I mean, it's moved from that. Wine now is becoming more mainstream. And therefore, there's many touch points where people can come into contact with it. But to answer your question, how are the sommelier community and how is everything tying into the growth of the wine culture? The sommeliers are the drivers of the education and the knowledge. And we have two schools that are doing a very good job at it. And one of the ones I want to highlight is BAMBA. BAMBA, you know, with their hospitality course, wine is now a huge element for all the kids who are graduating, all the students graduating from BAMBA will have a minimum knowledge or basic knowledge on wine, not just how it tastes or what it is, but also how to serve it, how to describe it, how to talk about it, how to sell it.
And I would have loved for us to get into that space. I hope I invite you some other time.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
that we have a couple of cheese, a couple of meat, you know, mates, the different.
I will be happy to come back.
Wine with and all that, because that also is
Yes.
not a big and huge concern, and especially when you have too much into a restaurant and you served wine and you have no idea what goes with what.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then there's also a lot of knowledge in the bottle. Like we have a Chianti Reserva here, a DOCG. Chianti, you know, if you scan the label, there's an app called Vivino.
Yes.
And Vivino gives you a breakdown of what the ratings are.
Right.
But a lot of producers, particularly Italian producers, are putting a QR code on their bottles, and this QR code, when you scan it, you're able to get information about when the grapes were harvested, how much alcohol by volume is in the wine,
right.
What the provenance is, like exactly where in Tuscany the wine comes from, and a lot of other information that what you can pair the wine with
here.
And a lot of information that helps it easier for people to understand. And DOCG is
yeah, that is a very important thing that I've loved for us, and I think that's the rules of origin, basically.
Rules of origin, yes.
Right.
And it's an indication of quality, the highest quality of Chianti coming from Tuscany.
All right, so let's assume that and true to it, I might not be so much of a connoisseur or perhaps a person who understands wine so much. So, and many of us are, but you want to get into the space of consuming alcohol. You really want to have some basic knowledge. Let's take a look at this bottle. What are some of the things to look out for? You are green and you want to get into this culture of wine. What are some of the things, the basics that you want to look out for? And how do you serve it and how do you handle it? I know we might not actually open this because then we're going to be drinking after the show.
We should.
Yes. Proceed. How do we go about it? So this has been brought to you and the waiter or waitress is trying to show you the bottle and all that.
So the waiter shows you the bottle or the sommelier and you're looking at Italian wines.
Could we zoom into this? All right.
So if we zoom into this, you can see Chianti Reserva, DOCG, and the producer, which is the Vinum. So Chianti is an area, but we know the wines that come from Chianti will be made with the Sangiovese grape. So straight away, you know it's Sangiovese, and if you need any help, it's actually written here, 100% Sangiovese. And then there's Reserva. Reserva must mean something, and that would tell you that the wine has been aged for a minimum of 2 years in the bottle, so 24 months, and 3 months in the bottle before it can be released from the winery.
The older, the better.
In some cases, yes, but in this case, yes, it's a higher quality of Chianti wines. And then we have the denomination of origin, which is controlled and guaranteed, DOCG. That tells you that this wine, yes, they can trace from grape to glass, so they know exactly where it comes from. It's controlled, and the mark of control would be somewhere on the bottle. And then it's guaranteed that there are no grapes that came from outside the region and were included in this. And to get this, there's random testings. This thing happens in Europe. It's a European Union also control, but also there will be secondary information on the neck of the bottle, so you can see what we have here. And lastly, just when you're looking at the bottle, you want to see at least that this bottle came into the country legally. There's the KRA mark on it. It's very important, so you're not drinking fake products, and you're also, you know, making the importers accountable for what it is that they're putting in the market. When they pour the wine, then you will see other indicators of quality, and we can go into that in the next.
The scent, the smell,
the color, the aroma, the flavors, the
body,
finish.
I hear.
All of that are indications of quality.
I think we need to tell them they might need to look out for the next episode because we're going to be showing them all that. Right?
Absolutely. And
serving alongside whatever it is that you're supposed to accompany the wine with.
Absolutely. But the biggest indicator of quality is the length of the finish. How long do the flavors linger on your palate?
Okay.
After 2-3 minutes and you're still having a conversation, can you pick up the fruit flavors? Can you pick up some different, textures and flavors on your palate? The longer the finish, the better, the higher the quality of the wine. Yeah, the shorter the finish. If you have a sip and you can't remember what you were drinking, it's like, you had a sip of water, then the quality isn't as great as a product or as wine that has had a very long finish that lingers on your palate.
My director is watching us and is saying, utamu wa pombe ni kulewa. I don't know whether we should relate that to wine or not. I mean, people. Let's just be a little bit, have some bit of class.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always, there's people who take wine for granted and they think, oh, it's juice, it's gulp, and, they will say things like, wine doesn't get me drunk, wine hainipelekangi mahali. But actually with 14% alcohol by volume in a bottle, this can knock you out faster than cocktails. Yeah. Because cocktails are diluted. Beer is 4 to 7%. And spirits, we have them in different ways, like whiskey. So I would encourage, if you're drinking wine, for every glass of wine you drink, please drink a glass of water. And then you won't wake up with a headache. You won't wake up feeling rough. You will wake up feeling good because it's a product we're supposed to enjoy. If you're not going to overrate and make yourself sick, why would you like to overdrink wine and make yourself...
tried and tested.
Yes.
It's important that you take it along with water. It saves you a great deal. You are so keen on grapes. Tell us something small about grapes. I was actually talking to Bansi. Bansi is one of us who traveled to South Africa, perhaps to just sample and get to see and visit these wineries and all that. She was telling me, they are so keen on the aspect of grapes, the soil, where they are grown and all this. What's this about it? And I know wine is basically about grapes, I agree.
Yes, because every single grape varietal produces a different kind of wine that tastes different, that looks different, that has a different texture. So just circling back to Italy. Italy has native grapes that are, traced back to Italy and to their land. In excess of 2,000 different grape varietals that can be used now. In fact, just looking at this book, we have, I think they have rated at least 500 different grape varietals that are actively used to make wine in Italy. So there's plenty of varietals, and each different grape variety has a DNA, specific DNA, and it's so important because it determines how you can vinify the wine, how long you can age it for, how long you can keep it for. It's so important. But that's what also helps us determine what we like in wine and what we don't like in wine. Some people love Sangiovese, some people can't stand it. Other people love Nero d'Avola, and other people just feel like, oh, that hint of spice is a bit too much. So knowing what you like is akin to us Kenyans. We know what mangoes we like.
Yes.
People like Ngowe, others like apple, others like, what is that other mango called? Has an English name. And others just want that traditional maembe, that little green one, the green small one. All of those are mangoes, but they have different DNAs, different tastes, and different textures. So very much like grapes.
So it doesn't matter white, red, sweet, dry. It doesn't really matter.
It does matter because that's about the the feeling and the taste on the palate.
But you always get them different as you taste them.
All of them are different and they're very distinct. And actually some producers will create blends where they take grape varietals that go together and make a blend of a wine. Like for example, Syrah, Grenache and Mourvedre can make a blend. And people would love that. Cabernet Sauvignon as well. You can blend it with Merlot and Cabernet Franc and get a Bordeaux blend. Those are also things that we like. But I think it's so important to just understand what feelings you like on your palate when you're drinking wine, and the specific tastes that you like. So do you like a fruitier taste? Do you like a non-fruitier taste? If you like fruits, do you like dark fruits, red fruits, or even white fruits? There are people who love Sauvignon Blanc because it's just like drinking lime, lemon juice, high acidity. And there are others who prefer Chardonnay because it's a little bit rounder and has less acidity. So that's part of the discovery. Wine is such an experience and such a discovery, and a joyous one at the end when you find what it is that you like.
Before you tell us what got you into this space that you understand so well or too well, randomly an explanation of just what one needs to do once wine has been poured in their glass and they're told, could you sample and see whether it's okay, whether we should proceed or not. This is the glass. What do you do with it?
Okay. I got into wine out of curiosity, and I needed a challenge. You can never learn enough about wine. I'm still learning, and I just enjoy that journey, right? New producer, new grape, you still have to get on board with that. And it complemented my background, which was in the corporate world, in the city, in finance, and in technology, and in education. So if you're in a restaurant and the waiter shows you the bottle, you're expected to read and to just affirm that, yes, this is what I ordered for, that it matches what was on the wine list or what you asked for. And then when they pour the wine, they pour at least, 15 ml or a finger's amount. And what you need to do is look at the color just to make sure you like the clarity of the color, because when color is a bit cloudy, then you know the wine is starting to deteriorate. Then you're also looking at the wine to make sure there is no foreign body in there. There's nothing floating in it. So we call that a clean, clear wine. The next thing is you nose it or you sniff it to ensure that it is clean. It doesn't have negative aromas or foul aromas. If it smells like wine, if it smells like fruit, then it's absolutely good to drink. Now you taste the wine just to confirm again that it is good for consumption. Not if you like it or not. You ordered it, so you must like it. But if it is tasting of something unpleasant, if it has gone off, or if it tastes like something very offensive to you, then you can return it. Otherwise, if it is clean, it tastes like wine, and there's nothing wrong with it, then you ask to be topped up. And the one tip is that if you're sat around the table and you've been given the responsibility to taste the wine and to give it a seal of approval, the waiter, and I hope they're all listening, needs to start with the ladies, and then the gents. Even if the person who ordered was a man, the gent, skip him, pour for the ladies, and then come back to the gentleman, please.
Please. I hope they are listening to that. I mean, I can almost relate instances where it was the gents that were actually served first before you, and it's fine.
And I hope our gents demand that as well.
Thank you. Oh, they're all looking at us. And all right, here we're back. So, East Africa.
Yes.
Because then this roadshow was more or less, happening in the country, but it was an East African affair. What would you say is the culture like for us combined as East Africans?
The culture is growing, it's encouraging, and it's beautiful. We enjoy ourselves. As East Africans, we know how to party, how to enjoy ourselves, and we love people. We entertain each other generously. Tanzania is slightly ahead when it comes to volumes of wine, because they, I imagine, entertain a lot more. They have their kitchen parties and sherehe all the time. But in terms of quality, value, Kenya is ahead. So they're ahead with volumes, we're ahead with value. Ugandans are, big on bubbles. They also are growing. They're a smaller, of course, market than Tanzania and Kenya. But Rwanda, are they still part of East Africa? Yes, Rwanda is a very interesting market, and they were present as well. And they are a growing, very small but discerning market that also, we're very proud that they all came together, that are a market to watch.
Did the government then join in perhaps aspects or maybe stakeholders within the government sector so that then they can help especially for those ones that import wine into the country. I was speaking again to a different one, an individual that actually joined or, was part of this roadshow. And he was talking about how difficult it is to actually import wine into the country. The challenges that come along with the fact that they have to take them as containers. Just how different will it be with Italy? Could they accommodate things like pallets so that it's easier? Even if it gets into the market, it stays longer without being, sold out. It's not much of a burden or expensive for those ones that retail or sell.
I am not privy to the government, the conversations happening at a government level. And I am sure there are some conversations happening, very active conversations happening. The challenges, some we are within our control and others are not within our control. One of the things that has really affected import of wine into Kenya is the war around the world. We had containers being blown up in the high seas that we have no control over. The time it takes for the containers to actually land at Mombasa or even at Nairobi, again, that we have no control over. What we have control over is how much you can order and how many savings you can make, because if you fill a container, yes, it's absolutely cheaper than getting a pallet, and you have more control over that particular volume. But the exchange rate is the real painful point for everybody, because it's very difficult to plan. The fluctuation of the shilling it's crazy, because when you're ordering wine, you're perhaps buying it at $10. By the time you're making the payment, it's, you're buying it at $10 and then you're paying it at 10 at 160, for example, so 1,600 shillings. But by the time you make the payment, you're probably paying 1,800 shillings per bottle. That's so difficult for the importers because they can't plan, they can't, and that cost comes to the consumer, unfortunately. So I do hope that those conversations can be fruitful, but we had direct support with albeit briefly, with Kenya Tourism Board. They did come in on the last minute to welcome our guests. That's a government agency that we wish can support us even more, because wine and all these events bring a lot of tourism. The 35 producers who came to Kenya spent time elsewhere outside of Nairobi, and even within Nairobi we went to all the tourist spots. But if we together work towards, a positive outcome, I think wine can be a staple in every home, and I think the cost can go down, it can be more affordable, and I think people can enjoy it the way it's supposed to be enjoyed.
Well, if the good book that would say a little of it is good for the stomach's sake, why would we not have it at home?
Exactly.
Evidently, I mean, that's
it's a healthy drink.
It is a healthy
if drunk in moderation.
I agree, 100%. So how do you stay up to date with the trends? How should the people who are watching, stay up to the trends? Because the world is moving pretty fast.
There are various ways. You can join a wine club. In Kenya, there's 2-3 wine clubs. You can reach out to me, maybe DM me on Instagram, and I'll be able to point you in the right direction.
Which is your account?
My account is at Vicky Munyoki. My Instagram account, if you send a polite DM.
Better be polite. Disclaimer.
But also there's schools you can go to. There is the Hospitality Institute in Karen. You can go and sign up, or BAMBA as well. But I think Google is your friend at the very minimum. Just there's different websites that give you information about wine. Come to the wine fairs, go to wine tastings, and share with friends as well, because different people know different things, and you can glean information from different conversations. And if nothing, at a very minimum, just drink wine and use your own discovery method that some of us are still on, and you're going to learn a lot about wine that way.
All right. Speaking of you being still on that journey,
yes,
memorable experience, or perhaps a discovery that actually deepened your understanding and your desire. This one that you say, this was the turning point.
My first turning point was in Germany.
Okay.
Yes, you wouldn't associate Germany with excellent wines, right? Excellent cars, yes. In Germany, that was the first time I had wine that made me think, wow, what is this? And that was a Riesling. To this day, still one of my favorite white wine varietals and white wines. The other turning point was visit to South Africa, Cape Town.
Okay.
and I went to a region where I thought, not just the beauty, but how hard these people work. I'm pleased that we actually enjoy their wines, because this is Africa, this is in our continent, and they're doing an amazing thing. And lastly, it's recently in Puglia, in Italy. The food, the wine, the people, and the collaboration, how they buy wines from each other and make sure everybody gets their rightful dues, was just amazing. And then the wines are just right up our alley. So that experience, I've been to Italy severally, but that one stuck in my mind as one of the experiences that have actually helped me pivot my understanding and my passion for wine. Yeah.
All right, beautiful. Victoria Mulu Munyoke, a wine expert, or perhaps a market expert, if we want to say that, is in the world of wine. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. We have to exit the stage. We also have to, it's a Saturday evening, and so we have to enjoy.
Let's go enjoy responsibly.
Responsibly. Underline that. Looking forward to see you again on Her Say. Thank you so much for always keeping it here. It is in the world of wine. You might need to get into it.
We value your feedback. If you would like to send questions, comments, suggestions, or complaints for any of our programs, call us on